Good morning, guys. What are you guys all up to? How are you doing this fine Wednesday morning? Welcome to the shop. Welcome to Home Built Workshop. It's kind of repetitive and redundant, but hope you guys are doing awesome. Thanks for tuning in to Wednesday Live. Hope you guys are off to a great start for this Wednesday, or I guess depending on where you are, maybe winding down your Wednesday. But either way, I hope your day is going awesome. Looking forward to hanging out here for a little while, chatting with you guys, talking shop and talking life and talking stuff, really. All right, so what is going on? As always, well, almost always, we got some hot coffee here, ready to go. We're settled in. Got some heat going this morning because it's a little bit cool today. We've had some great weather the last few days. I think we were close to 80 degrees on Sunday, and today it's 20 something with a little bit of snow. Just, it's that funny time of year, you know? That time where it's still spring, but it's still winter. Yeah. Except for Harry Dude, who just tuned in. He doesn't have to worry about that. He's in the heights of summer now, I imagine. Harry Dude, what's up? Harry Dude says I got the timing right this week. Yes, right on. Missed you the last week. Darn daylight savings throws everything off. What's going on, man? How things going down under? Hopefully you've been enjoying your nice weather, I guess, and hopefully you got a lot of work. What's on your bench? I want to hear what you're working on. Holy moly, that's hot. Wow, did not expect that to be quite that scalding. Live TV, you can't edit that out. Brian's here. Brian says, hi Jeff, we in Germany had several days of 60s weather, and now a cool front has moved in. Man, you sound kind of like ours. You know, it's that weird time, right? Between the seasons. Like, you know, it's still, like I said, it's still winter, and then you get nice days and super cold days, and yeah. I like it though. I'm not complaining. I'm looking forward to spring, late spring, I should say, when the weather is a little more even-keeled, I guess. But, Brian, I hope you are doing good. Got any projects you're working on? Giovanni's here! Giovanni! Man, I'm trying to think of the Italian. Yeah. I gotta study on that a little bit more. Giovanni, good morning. Good afternoon to you, I believe. Hope you're doing well. How are things going in your world? Harry Dude says, our daylight savings ends this weekend. There it goes again. I did that last week. Smashed my shin. Weather is still okay, but starting to get colder. Really? Are you getting past? Oh, wait. So you're coming... Oh, you're to the end of summer. That's right. Gotcha. Yeah. We're warming up. You're cooling off. I was thinking you're still going into summer, but that's right. You're wrapping it up. Giovanni said, what did you break? No, my foot slipped off. I'm sitting on a stool, and there's a little trash can here, like a metal, like one of those, like a 55-gallon drum, but it's a small one, like a 35-gallon drum or 25, and my foot slipped off the stool, and my shin smashed right into the edge of it. It doesn't feel good. And I did the exact same thing in the live last week, and there's like a scrape on my shin already from that, and I hit it in the exact same spot. It's okay. I'll live. I'm gonna be fine. Nobody call for emergency services or anything. Brian says, I am well, thank you. I've been jumping around between my guitar kit build and a scratch built 1/24th scale NASCAR hauler. Whoa, you're building it from scratch? That's cool. Nice. Do you follow NASCAR? I'm assuming. I do too. It's one of the few things that I follow. I don't follow it super close, but I do occasionally get to tune in and watch a good race. I love me a good race once in a while. That's cool. That's awesome. You're building everything from scratch for that. That is really cool. Giovanni says, the next live is directly from the garden. You know, a garden is something I miss having. I grew up having a garden all the time and stuff, and out here, or at least where I live, the soil is so sandy, and we don't get enough rain to really be able to grow things without constant watering. I mean, in summertime, you have to water it a couple of times a day in order to keep everything going, and it's so much work trying to do that. We've tried it several times, and I've gotten some stuff to grow pretty good, but it takes so much attention and so much time that I don't garden too much anymore. I have a couple things growing in some beds, stuff that comes back every year, but yeah, for the most part, we won't be live streaming from the garden. Brian says, I do follow NASCAR and most motorsports. That's about the only thing that I somewhat follow. And it's, like I said, it's not 100%, but motorsports I can get into for sure. I like watching pretty much all forms of it, really. Not so much sports, you know, the baseball, football, all that stuff, all your normal sports. I don't follow it all. I really am not even interested in it, honestly. But yeah, motorsports, I like it. I like motors and loud engines and stuff. Brian says it's a challenge, but I've gotten into a rhythm. Man, that is so cool. I'd love to see a picture once you get it done. Patty's here. Patty says, hiya Jeff and everyone. Hope you're well. Patty, I am doing good. Yeah, we're doing good, man. Hope you are doing good as well. Getting out of the, are you in the full swing of spring chores and things? You got all that going, or are you just getting close? Planting and plowing and all that, whatever it is you need to do. Mike's here. Mike says, good morning. How would you prevent bandsaw blade drift? Need to cut a 2-inch thick walnut plank in half. Oh man, the old bandsaw. Yeah, I'm with you. Really, it all comes down to your bandsaw setup, honestly. You know, having your, you know, squaring your table to the blade first. You know, it sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many times I've gone to do stuff like that and I double check my blade and something has shifted a little bit. So, you know, square up your blade, make sure your tension is good, and dang, I forgot. I was going somewhere with that. If your tension's too loose, you know, it can warp and move around and cause the blade to do weird things. You know, some people have some scientific methods for tensioning the blade. For my little saw, you know, I have a small 10-inch benchtop saw. It's about the only thing I have, you know, space for, and it works fine. I've tried the blade tight, like pretty tight, and I've tried it just tight enough to keep it in place, and I haven't found that sweet spot for tension. But you know, you got to tension it properly. But the biggest thing is going to be those bearings. Get those bearings set. So once you have your table squared up, now I want to preface this by saying that I am not. I do not consider myself the authority for setting up my bandsaw, because I have plenty of troubles with mine as well. And I go through and I readjust things, and I still break what I feel is a fair amount of blades. But I'm just trying to give you some places to start anyway. So, but the bearings, I think, is the most important you want to make sure they turn freely first, all of them. And I don't know your particular saw. Mine has 3 blades on the, or 3 bearings on the top and 3 bearings on the bottom. So you want to make sure those spin freely. Mine tend to get gummed up a lot, so I've got replacement ones and I just change them out when it gets really bad. Make sure those spin freely. Once you have your table and your tension set, then you can loosen your bearing guides. And I like to use a piece of paper, you know, just a, no, that's not it. A scrap of regular sheet of blank paper. I will fold it in half and kind of, so if this is your blade, I'll fold the paper in half from the back and pull it over there. Then I can bring my bearings in to that, right to the paper. And then you snug them down. Now if that, most of the time that gets it very close, then when you pull the paper out of there, you should, and as long as things don't shift around too much when you're snugging them down, you should have just the tiniest amount of clearance on either side. At least that's the goal. Sometimes it takes a couple of times, so that when your blade is running, you know, it is just grazing. If you can see just the tiniest bit of movement in your bearings, that to me tells me that I'm in about the right spot. You definitely don't want it spinning 100, you know, constantly, 100% of the time. While it's just kind of idling. Once you get that set, bring your, let's see, you want to adjust, make sure your blade is adjusted front to back so that the bearing is behind, the way I do it anyway, so that the bearing is just behind the gullet of the blade. You don't want it up too far so that the bearing is riding on the teeth. You want it just ahead of the bearing, and then once you get that adjusted right, you bring your back bearing in. But I think that is the biggest key, I feel, to getting a straight cut. You want that the same on the top and the bottom, because really those bearings are what keeps the blade in that position. And if they're out of whack, that blade is allowed to move more, right? If you have a big gap on either side of the blade, that's going to let it shift around because there's nothing to hold the blade in place. So the better you can get those, your side-to-side bearings set to the blade, I think that makes the biggest difference. At least it does for my little saw. Now I can't resaw anything too big. I think mine's about 5 inches or something like that I can resaw. But I, even on, you know, the smaller dimension like that, I can notice a difference if I don't have those bearings just right. Hopefully that at least gives you something to go off of. Oh, Mike, the other thing, when you are going to resaw, you said it's a 2-inch blank, so bring your blade, your top blade guide down as close as you can to the piece. Don't leave it way up above so you just have blade, because all that is unsupported, basically. When you go to make the cut, bring your stock up there, bring your top blade guide down as close as you can to the piece, and that's going to give you the smallest, you always want to have the smallest distance of unsupported blade, and that's going to minimize how much drift. Is that like the worm or something? So hope that helps. Giovanni says, did you buy the thoroughbred horse for your daughter? No, not yet, not yet. But I can see that on the horizon if things keep going as they are. She has her last. My daughter's been doing this series of horse shows and doing very, very well at it, I might add. And her last one is this Saturday. So we're pretty excited. We'll see if she takes home a prize. She's really doing awesome. I'm super proud of her. And yeah, if she keeps this up, I can see us getting a horse at some point, which I'm totally fine with. Let's see. Patty says, anything with a set of bars on for me. Yeah. I don't follow a whole lot of I forget what the series is. You know, the sport bike racing. I like to watch it from time to time, though. Leaning it down, dragging the knees, and all that stuff. Ronaldo's here. I don't know what that says. I'm sorry, Ronaldo. I don't have a translate. No, I lost the comments. There they go. Ronaldo, if you can translate for me, I don't know. My apologies. Patty says, follow the U.S. Supercross religiously here. Yep, flat out on working. Oh yeah, working ground down and a lot of grass work, aerating the soil and rolling. Right on. Field work is one of the things that I really, really do miss from working on the farm. I just love the spring. I love the plowing and disking and dragging and, you know, just turning that ground over for the first time, you know, since last year. And just the smell of the fresh dirt. Oh man, I love all that. It's great. Mike says, makes me want to use a table saw. Stock is 8.5 inches wide. Oh, gotcha. You could. Whatever works the best for you and is the safest that you can, you know, you feel the most confident with. John's here. John says, good morning. Good morning, John. How are you doing this fine Wednesday? Let's see. Mike, oh, the table saw and come up to it slowly. Yes. So okay. So your stock is 2 inches thick, 8.5 inches wide. Gotcha. I'm with you. It took me a minute to get to that spot. Yeah, I almost think the table saw might be easier if you can get a square side. You know, to reference off your table saw fence, that would work pretty well. And I've done that. I've done some longer cuts on some thicker stock like that on my table saw. You know, I have to drag it outside for those big boards because I don't have room in here to rip long stock, longer than a few feet anyway. But yeah, that would totally work. If you have a jointer, you know, joint one edge and shove that sucker on the table saw. That actually might be quicker, possibly safer, if it's super long. If it's not super long, you could probably do it just fine on the bandsaw, but yeah, table saw might give you a cleaner edge. John says, cut with table saw as deep as you can and finish up on the bandsaw. That's another good option. Yeah, Mike, that's a good thought. If for some reason you can't get through it, yeah, make a cut. You could flip the piece. Well, maybe not, but just do it one side. And then, yeah, cut it on the bandsaw. That's a great idea. You'd have somewhat of a little ridge left when you're done. Hand plane or a pass or two on the jointer would probably take care of that. John, Tomac is the man. Spike's here. What's up, Spike? Spike says, hey, Jeff, at lunch with the wife. Hope all is good. It is, man. Hey, sorry I didn't get to tune in on Sunday. We just had a bunch of stuff going on and just didn't work out. But I will. I've got it on my calendar to remind me, so hopefully I can tune in to some more of them. Harry Dude says multiple small passes on a table saw so you don't load down the saw blade motor. Yes, that's a good tip as well. I have done well. Not have I. No, I'm thinking the thick stuff I ripped in one cut on my table saw was pine, some 2-inch thick pine, and you know pine's not that hard, so it kind of went through. I just went a little bit slow, and it worked pretty good. But a hardwood, especially on my little saw, yeah, I would have to do multiple passes for sure. John says it's cold and windy. Cold and windy here too. Yeah. Yesterday was a mixed bag of rain and sleet and snow and sun and cold and wind, and today it's just cold, a little bit of snow on the ground. Spike says, did you see my Melody Maker acoustic mocked up? I did. It looks cool. I can't wait to see the final result. I think it's going to be a really cool build. Yeah, that's awesome. So, let's see. What have I been working on around here? Well, like I mentioned last week in the live, our schools are on spring break. So I've been last week. My daughter has been home from school as well as this week. They have 2 weeks for spring break. Can you believe that? So we've been spending a lot of time with her, but I've been doing a ton of pre-planning. Is that even right? Planning, pre-planning. I've been making plans and preparations for some upcoming projects. One of them, if you've been following along on, if you follow over on the old Instagram, I posted a mock-up of a project that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be making a binding tower that I'm intending to use specifically for this acoustic guitar, but really I'll be able to use it on pretty much every guitar I'm going to bind. I'm kind of basing it on some popular designs that are out there, and I've got all the parts. I've got everything test fit, measurements figured out. So I'm going to be putting that together. Well, it's probably going to be several weeks before I get to the binding tower because I don't need it just yet, but just been doing a lot of that kind of pre-planning work. The acoustic guitar build, I'm at the point now where I'm ready to make the rosette that's going to go into the soundboard. So I've been also prototyping things to help me make the rosette. Like I'm working on like a little jig to help me cut the pieces for the rosette. I've been doing a lot of 3D printing, testing parts, testing dimensions, making drawings. So I've been able to get a lot of that kind of stuff done, which has been really cool because I can work on a part, send it to the 3D printer, and then be off with the kiddo and doing something while it's doing its work. And so I'm feeling really good. I haven't gotten a ton of shop time really in a week or so, but I'm okay with that because all of these parts and things that I'm in plans that I'm getting done are all part of working into future projects. So while I haven't done a ton out here, I've spent quite a bit of time at the computer modeling and printing and that sort of thing. Also, the bass guitar. The bass guitar is out of here. It is off to its new home. And so now that everything is signed, sealed, and delivered, as they say, I've got sound demos edited for that. The sound demo is going to go up on Haley Guitar's website this Friday. Then I'm doing an overview video of that bass here on this channel on Saturday. That's going to go up. That way you guys, because I never really showed you guys the final result. So I'm going to cover all that. That's all going to be going up. So I've been doing some website work on Haley Guitars and all that kind of thing, behind the scenes stuff. So be on the lookout. This Friday, sound demo on Haley Guitars YouTube channel. It'll also be available on the Haley Guitars website, the sound demo, because the bass is not available, although it is listed there and you can go and check it out. Then Saturday will be the overview, so you guys can see the final result here on this channel. So then I think it's time to jump into another guitar build. I think this one's going to be for the Great Guitar Build-Off, if all goes well. That's the plan. So I'll probably start on that right away on next week, get rolling on that, so I'm kind of excited. Spike says, starting back half today. Cool. Philip's here. Philip says, good morning, everybody. Philip, what is going on? Good morning to you. How are things going for you? Patty says to John, who certainly is flying this season, seems to like that Yamaha. Coop had a big off earlier in the day. He's a tough cookie. Hairline fracture of the hand and a banged up shoulder. That sounds painful. Patty says you should be on that Eli Tomac train. He's from Colorado. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't follow it that close, but I'll check him out. Let's see. Spike says I have to make a thickness measuring device for the acoustic back and front thickness. Do you have any calipers? Calipers are the simplest way, as I believe, to measure. unless there's something specific that you're trying to measure. I've got some pretty snazzy. Oh, I can't even get it. Come on. You know, just to measure. You know, just your regular old dial calipers, right? To do your thickness measuring. That's what I've been using for, you know, really quick measurements. I also have this cool thing, which is a thickness. I don't know what they call it, a snap gauge or something. I don't remember, but this works really good too. They make you can get these with a dial indicator. I think I have one too, but I kind of like this digital one. But that works really good too. The only thing with this is, you know, you can only measure about an inch in. But depending on what you're trying to measure, I mean, calipers, I would imagine. Spike. Oh, that's right. Spike says mine's like a big dugout bowl, needs a big C-clamp measure. That's right. I forgot. You've got the hollowed out sides. I'm thinking here. What else do I have? Here you go. I got you. Something like this, right? So it'll, well, if they're big enough, you can get different sizes. These are adjustable. This is a caliper. I forget the technical name, but you know, you can go in there, measure. Hang on here, we're going to get technical with this. I'm just going to make something up here. So you could go in there. You know, this thing will reach over the sides, and then you come in and you can snug this down so you just have that, and then you can come in. It's a little tricky. It's probably a better way to do it, but this is how I would do it if I had to do it right this second. Come in here. And measure it, you know, with your calipers. I mean, you could eyeball. Use your inside. Something like that might work for you. I'm not sure. I know this is one way, like a lot of turners will measure their pieces, right? So if they're turning a bowl or a vase or something like that, you know, you could just go in there, measure your thickness that way. Might work for you. And like I said, I know you can get different sizes and shapes of these. John says, Patty, those dudes are tough as kiln-dried Osage. Ooh, that's a tough one. Mike says if you can get it off the sides of the bowl. Yeah, the easy eyes, I think might. If you can, but you know, if you're trying to measure the back, it's got to be big enough to where you can get around your sides. So it'd probably have to be a larger set of these, but. Spike says won't reach the middle, making a big C, putting the Harbor Freight inline dial indicator on the end. There you go. You got it under control. You don't need me to suggest these things. You got it. You got it figured out, man. Now that I got measuring instruments all over the place, I guess that's not a bad thing. Yeah, sometimes we got to get creative with stuff, right? You know, you don't have a certain device or a certain tool or something like that. That's kind of one of the fun things about what we do. isn't it? You know, being able to get creative and come up with some sort of solution that accomplishes the task that we need to get done, and that's one of the fun things. Of course, making the thing is always fun, and the satisfaction of having, you know, the finished product, but coming up with just jigs and little contraptions to help you accomplish a task, I think is, you know, is just as fun in a lot of cases as getting the completed project. It challenges us to think outside the box, come up with new solutions and new ways to do things, and using the tools and resources that we have available to us. That's one of the fun parts. I really enjoy the prototype process, you know, coming up with parts and jigs and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. I don't know why. This is like, some of these comments are cut off on the end, and I'm not sure why that is. Spike says, oh wait, oh yeah. Spike says, I already wrote the video outline. Make jigs, tools, enjoy even more sometimes. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Mike says, another use for a tower adjacent to the bowl with an arm and point to measure. Oh yeah, a reference measure point. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got you. Ooh. You got the gears turning, Mike. So I'm getting ready to build a binding tower, right? It holds a router and, you know, slides up and down to be able to cut a square binding channel on a guitar body that's not perfectly flat. But I also think with, you know, something like that, I think you could retrofit, instead of the router on there, it's got a dial indicator, and it would be like a height thickness measure. Ooh. Huh. Smoke pouring? Yeah, you can make a different attachment. Interesting. I like that. Ooh, man. Sorry for the dead airspace there, but my... Yeah, absolutely. Mike, that's awesome. Yes. Because I'm planning anyway to have the binding tower mounted here back on this table. It's probably just going to be... I'm going to have it removable. I'll probably put some inserts in the workbench, but most of the time I'll probably just leave it in place. But, yeah. You make either some sort of attachment, or you slide the router cradle off and slip on a similar style one that has a dial indicator on there. Yeah, that's a great idea. I like it. John says the caliper deep reach really helps when you have a back or soundboard that is carved inside and out like a violin. I can totally see that. Yeah, you just get right in there. You can measure, check all of your thicknesses. These are a tool that I don't use a lot, but once in a while, they work really well. I mean, that's what they're made for. But you know, depending on what you're trying to measure or check, these things great. Patty says, too true, John. To reach in there, yes. Spike says, I got it close with the overhead router. Patty says, gears are turning in that brain of yours, Jeff. Yeah, I try to not just sit here and let a bunch of dead space, but sometimes you get a thought going in there, and I just got to take a second and soak it in. I really like that idea. Now we need coffee. Yep, that's it. The gears were turning, and I probably need a little grease. That's why the smoke was coming out. So that's kind of what I've been up to. I did take yesterday and well, a little bit of time yesterday morning, and I went and visited my friend Matt Zimbelman at Zimbelman Guitars. Had to pick his brain some more on the acoustic build, answer some questions and stuff like that. Yeah, we're coming along, I'm learning everything as we go, and you know, I'm not set up at the moment to just knock out this acoustic, you know, over a few videos. That's why I'm prototyping parts and bits and jigs and all of that along the way, and that's part of the fun. But by the end of this, I should have, you know, pretty much everything set and built, at least the first version, to be able to move forward. So I'm asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of research and designing things, and it's coming along good so far. Mike says, success! Mike created dead space. You did. Well, you didn't create it. You created the idea that caused me to stop, and yes, okay, never mind. Thanks, Mike, for that cool idea. Dastardly Dave's here. Dave says, sup all. Sup, Dave? What's going on, buddy? You just missed the dead space where I was thinking and smoke was rolling. But welcome. Welcome to Homeville Workshop. So, Spike, great guitar build off. I'm going to start on one of the builds tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Next week. How about that? Maybe this weekend, depending on time. I think. Yep. Gonna finally start on it, get things rolling, and try to knock that out over the next week or two. Get one of these builds done. And then we'll see if I can work in a second. I don't know. But I'm going to do one, and I'm probably going to start on it at the latest the beginning of next week. So I still haven't entered yet, because like I said, I'm going to do the build first, and then I'll go through and enter before I put the video out, probably. At least that's my plan. So it should be kind of cool. I got most of the details figured out. Not quite all of them yet, but I think it's going to have to come down to just doing it on the fly. You know, for me, I can only plan. Well, I guess you could plan the whole thing if you spend enough time, but after a while, I start to get paralysis by analysis, and I just got to jump in and start cutting some pieces of wood. So that'll be fun. So look forward to another guitar build before long. Man, it's still like screaming hot. I must not have put enough creamer in there or something. Spike, you mentioned the overhead router. That's something else that I want to tackle. I haven't talked about it in a while, but I have this cool arm, this arm thing, adjustable height arm deal. If I could dig it out safely, I would and show you. But and I've been saving it because, well, it was going to be trashed anyway. So I salvaged it from the, well, not trash necessarily, but the scrap pile. And it's just, I think, a cool thing to build some sort of an overhead, kind of a pin router style thing. And I kind of want to adapt that at some point and see if it'll work. I don't know if it's rigid enough, but I only know one way to find out. So I might get to doing something like that later this year. Right now I'm not for sure. I'm gonna be, definitely gonna be doing the binding tower, the acoustic build, some of these jigs and fixtures, a great guitar build-off project or two, and there's just a lot of things right now that are in the works. I got some leather, small leather projects that I want to do at some point. So maybe later this year I might try to tackle maybe making some sort of a pin router of sorts, or at least an overhead router. I don't know. I think one of those, I think a pin router would be cool. Ultimately, I'd rather have a CNC machine to just do all the work with. Like them or not, I would like to have one. But until then, I'm trying to come up with other ways to do stuff. And I think an overhead one would be pretty cool. Let's see. Dane's here. Dane says, greetings from Ashland, Oregon. Greetings, Dane. How are you today? How are things in Oregon? Never been to Oregon. I would like to get up there. I heard it's a really nice up that way. Spike says, I have mine on my Shopsmith. Overhead. Oh, I can't. For some reason, it's cut off right there. Does overhead and added a pin to it and dust collection. Nice. Dane says, every day is a good day. We decide to make them bad. Dude, yes. I totally 100% agree with you. Every day is a good day unless we don't let it be. There you go. Deep thoughts. Thanks for that, Dane. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yep. We decide to make them bad. You know, that's... Think about that, guys. I mean, that's pretty... That's spot on. You know, we choose through our... I don't want to get too in the weeds on it, but... It is. We can wake up in the morning, it's a good day. And then it's us that choose to make it a bad day. Intentionally or non-intentionally. Dane, that's awesome. Jade Guitars. I'm going with the CNC myself. Yes. That's, like I said, that's ultimately the route that I really do want to go. I really, really want a CNC machine. And, you know, to be able to do a lot of stuff on. But until I get to the point where I can squeeze one in. Right now, my shop is super tiny. Until I figure out a way to shoehorn one in here. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, keep that on the back burner. I did think about, and I want to know your guys' thoughts. For those of you that have no problems with CNC, and I know CNC is something that some people really like and some people don't, right? And I'm totally okay with that. And, you know, I'm not trying to stir the pot or anything. If you're not a fan of CNC, totally get it. But for those of you that are, have you guys seen that Shaper Origin? It's like that handheld CNC. I have considered that on more than one occasion. But I want to know, what are your guys' thoughts if you've seen it? Something like that for the small shop, like many of you guys, as well as myself. You know, I don't really have room for even like a 4x2, a 2x4 CNC machine. I've done measurements and I can't quite squeeze it onto this table because I've considered that a few times. I have about 4 feet exactly. And by the time you have, you know, fittings and motors and stuff, I don't have enough table space there to put one. But I have thought about that Shaper handheld CNC. What do you guys think for the small shop, small, you know, for guitar building in a small shop? Well, not just guitar buildings, but a lot of things. I don't know. Once I understood the technology of it a lot more, it seems really cool. Robert's here. Robert says, hello, everyone. Good morning, Robert. Brian says, is the Origin the router that follows the dotted tape? Yes, it is. It is, yep. Harry Dude says, seen a few YouTubers with them. Must go through heaps of that tape. That's my thought. But I've seen something else I've seen for that, and I will come back. Mike says, saw it at either a Rockler or Woodcraft, just not into it. I wasn't at first. Honestly, I'm like, I don't get it. I didn't understand how it works. Dane says, I would love a CNC machine, but unfortunately price and space dictate my ability to have one. I'm with you. I have found some some units that I feel would be suitable for smaller shop environments. You know, not necessarily an industrial one. Where I think, you know, if you're doing a, you know, you're not running it nonstop full time. I think that there's some out on the market that I found with a decent price range that I think would hold up kind of as a, I don't want to say starter CNC because that makes it sound like it's super cheap. I don't feel the build quality. Well, anyway, it's not an Avid, right? It's not a, you know, it's not an Avid CNC or some sort of industrial. But I found some decent ones that I would probably be okay with pulling the trigger. But yeah, I can't fit it in here. I just can't. Jade Guitar says, interesting. Do you have a link? I have not seen this. I don't have the keyboard right here to throw a link up there. But if you just search, just don't leave the stream, but open up a new tab if you're on a computer, and just search Shaper Origin CNC or something, and it'll probably come up right away. It looks just like a router, like a plunge router, basically with a big deal on the top. And you can see all about it. Mike says, definitely cool, but want to work the wood myself. Oh, Mike, I totally get it, man. That's why I say, you know, some people are okay with letting the machine do it. Some people want to do it themselves. And personally, I'm not mad either way. Like, it's totally your choice. The thing that gets me though is when people will almost fight you on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you guys have seen those sorts of deals, right? People just get so bent out of shape. Oh, you're using a CNC. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we all just accept it? Some people like it, some people don't, and I don't. I have zero. I don't know how to say that. It doesn't bother me either way. I see the advantages of doing it, but I also do enjoy doing some of this work by hand. And, you know, yeah, everybody's different. Everybody has their own preferences and what they like and what they don't like. And I just don't like that some people, I'm not saying you guys, because you guys wouldn't do that. Some people really get mad at other people for doing things a certain way. And I just think that part's wrong. Hope that makes sense. Hope I didn't somehow misstate that. But I totally get you, Mike. Spike says, my CNC is in a box. I have not rebuilt it since the fire last year. Watched a Gibson custom shop video last night. The CNC there. So then why not CNC? Yeah. Man, I watched a Gibson video last night too. It's that old one where they found, you know, like from 1963 or whatever it was. I got bored with it at the end. But, because they'd moved on past the guitar building stuff. But it was pretty cool being able to look at their fixtures and the way they did a lot of stuff. You guys, if you guys haven't seen it, I think it's Gibson TV here on YouTube. They posted a video, I guess, supposedly of, you know, some lost footage from, I think, you know, 63 or 67 or something. Little factory tour showing a lot of their processes and things. It was actually really interesting. Go check it out if you'd like to see some old manufacturing stuff. So I'm gonna get back to that Shaper really quick. Robert says, I've seen that machine. It looks interesting. Not sure how expensive it is. Might be limited in guitar builds. I don't know exactly. It's like $2,000 or $2,500 or something like that. It's you know, it's pretty expensive. But so the way it works, and I'm not an expert. I've never used one. I don't even know if I've seen one in person. But you know, you put that dotted tape stuff down on your piece. Once you load your files into the machine, it uses those as reference points, right? So at first I thought, well, it's still a handheld router. What difference does that tape stuff make? But what I did not realize is that the router bit is mounted on a it can move, right? So if you're moving it in what you think is a straight line, that bit is in there adjusting to keep your cut straight the whole time, which I thought was kind of cool. I did not understand that at first. So, like a CNC machine would, the spindle moves around. That does the exact same thing, but it uses those funny dots, that weird tape, to know where it is on the piece. And if you're routing it in a circle, I don't know how many of you guys, but I know myself, could never freehand route a perfect circle. You're just basically following a guide on the screen, and if you get off of the line a little bit, that spindle adjusts and it keeps it on the line. So I can definitely see how that, something like that would be pretty awesome. Let's see here. But that tape, yeah, you got to use a lot of that tape. I have seen some workstations, and this is what I wanted to say. I think, Harry, dude, you said it first about the tape. I've seen workstations where people basically have a workpiece out in front that just has the tape on there, and it's not part of their piece. So they only have, now I don't know the details for this, but there's some sort of and that piece is always there. Then your workpiece gets clamped behind it, so it's always reading that. And I could see something like that, maybe saving the tape. Maybe you had a long piece across your workbench, and you somehow clamped a guitar body. I don't know its field of view or anything, but I don't know. I could see how you could use it for cutting out, roughing out. Not even roughing out, I guess. You could cut out guitar bodies. You could go in and route the pickup cavities, the neck pocket. I could see all of that. I don't know how it works for like 3D carving. I don't know if it'll do that, like automatically, and it may. I'm not familiar with its limitations, but I could totally see how you could go in and cut out your neck pockets, pickup routings, control cavities, control cavity recesses, control cavity covers. Basically everything straight cut. It might be able to do 3D. That I don't know, but I could see how it would speed up the process, similar to having a regular table CNC. Maybe without. In my head, I think that would make a big difference, because you could still cut all your parts out, basically in, I don't know, a lot less time. Because if you think about, you make your guitar blank. You're roughing out your guitar blank, you're reattaching, and you're using this template, using that template, making the neck pocket. There's a lot of steps. You could do it all in one step, really. At least in theory. I don't know. Just a few thoughts. And I'm not. Don't misunderstand. I'm not trying to sell the shaper. It's just a thought that came to mind, and just wanted to expand on that with you guys. I have no interests or sponsors or anything like that in the shaper. It's just a discussion I wanted to bring up. Spike says that was a built MP-CNC machine. That's cool. Robert says 3x3 Customs use one. I've seen several people using one of those. Mike says now an Avid CNC I would totally go for. Yeah, me too. For 10, 15 grand for a small one. They're awesome though. I would, yeah. Brian says, and it's not made by hand. Yeah, that is another point that comes up a lot. Honestly, it really is. It's a lot of people have different views on that, and it kind of like the hand tool versus power tool thing. I totally get it, and I'm totally okay, no matter what anyone's, what your opinion is on the topic. To me, I'm totally okay with it, because you're just cutting it, right? It's not building the guitar, and I'm not. Brian, I'm not trying to argue with you, but so that's not the point. I'm just giving you my thought. I totally get what you're saying. 100%. So I just want to put that out there. Don't take this as I'm not saying you're wrong or anything, because you're not. It's just cutting it out, right? It's the way I see it. The machine is doing the work. You're guiding the machine, sort of. Computer guiding. I don't know. But there is definitely something to be said by doing it all by hand. I totally get that. You're putting every ounce of work is done with these, and I really, I've done guitars that way. Well, I've never cut it out by hand. I always use a bandsaw. So I guess, you know, there's always an argument that you could make. And again, I don't say anybody's right or anybody's wrong. It's just a kind of a fun conversation to have, and that's why I don't mind having that conversation with you guys, because I think you guys get it as well. And you know, I'm not worried about you guys getting mad at me for saying it, because there are some circles, if you bring that sort of topic up in, you're gonna get tarred and feathered. I've been in some of those. And I just don't like it. So thank you guys for allowing me to bring up stuff like this with you. And no one's mad at each other, that I'm aware of. Jade says, found it. Reminds me of my ex-wife. Another tool that tells me where to go. Dane says, everyone's an expert these days. Well, I don't claim to be an expert at anything. I'm always learning everything. John says, good morning. Is CNC still handmade? That's the debate. Everybody has a different opinion. And my opinion really is, you know, there's no equipment out there, handmade or CNC, that I'm aware of, you know, that you can load a piece of wood in and out comes a finished instrument. You know what I'm saying? If you're cutting it out on a CNC machine, really that's all you're doing. You know, you're cutting it out. And that machine, maybe you're not spending the hours or days or weeks, right? Carving, shaping, you know, and working every piece of that instrument to whatever the shape is if you use a CNC. But with the CNC, and I'm not trying to sway anybody either way. I'm not trying to push one method over another, but I'm just my thoughts. In order for that CNC to cut the things that you need it to cut, whether it's a sign, a guitar, whatever the project is, a dog dish, I don't know. There's still, you can't just turn it on and scroll through a menu and say, make a guitar, right? You've got to have that file. You've got to create the file. So maybe you're not spending the days, the weeks, the months, in some cases maybe, I don't know, hand working each piece of that wood to shape it. You are going to spend the days, the weeks, months, I don't know, creating that file on the computer. And you've got to have that created to send to the CNC. So you're still doing the work. It's just a different kind of work. I don't know. But the upside is once you get the file right, you can, you know, keep reusing that file. So I don't know. It's just a discussion. Like I said, everybody has a whole different thoughts on it. So my opinion, is CNC still handmade? I would say yes. You're just using the machine to make the cuts. I use a bandsaw to make my cuts. I use a router to make my cuts. Router and templates. Am I hand cutting each pickup cavity with a chisel? And, you know, no, I don't. You know, I drill the holes with a drill press. It's not... I'm not cutting the wood with a handsaw, and I'm not using a brace and bit to drill the holes. I'm not chiseling out every piece of wood. Do those tools sometimes get used? Absolutely. You know, chisels, you know, drills and things. I've even used a brace and bit in certain applications. But I've used some power tools, and to me a CNC is just a power tool. Hair Dude says, I would happily buy a guitar made on a CNC. Most, if not all, of my guitars are mass-produced, so probably CNC made, definitely not made by hand. Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, you go to the music shop, yeah, most of your big names are not done by a person with a hand saw. Um, it's kind of a, to me, it's kind of a fun conversation. Again, when you're with cool people like you guys who can actually have a conversation like that without each other getting mad. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I like. Oh, man, I got behind here. Sorry, guys. I'm going to get caught up. Jade says old video. It is an old video, but they just released it, I think. Mike says, take care. Need to get to work. Right on, Mike. Have an awesome day, buddy. Robert says, Mike, have a good one. Right on. Brian says, to clarify, I think CNC is fine. I have heard people say that. Yeah. Yeah. Where they get kind of, yeah. Spike says, watching the Gibson Custom Shop, a couple of things struck me. They use a CNC, but downplay it and stress that the finish is all by hand. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there's still a lot of work done. Even if you use them CNC to cut the parts out, there's still hours of sanding and assembly and finishing and all that setup. That's all done by hand. Brian says, most use power tools to save time. Some only use hand tools. It depends on how you want to build. The result is what makes you happy. Brian, I give you 2 thumbs up for that. Yes. We all, in any craft, not just building instruments, right? We all have different methods of doing things. And honestly, that's one of my favorite things, is I love seeing how other people do something that I've done a certain way. I love seeing the 50 different ways to do it. Like speaking of this thing right here that I'm working on to cut the wedges for a radial rosette. I've seen, 30 different styles of jig, and I'm not building that for any one of them. I mean, mine's going to be totally different. And it's all what works for you, and your situation, and like you said, Brian, depends on how you want to do the build. Yeah. I don't think there should be so many people, and I'm not saying that you can't have your own preference, right? Or maybe you don't want to try to do it a certain way. If you're a hand tool worker and you don't want to use a CNC, or you don't want to use a power tool, it's totally fine. The thing that really gets me is when people start, maybe it's not the right word, but people start bashing other ways, right? Oh, that's not how you do it. I do it all by hand. That's totally awesome if it works for you, but don't get mad at somebody else. That's where I have the issue. It's what works for each and every one of us, for our own method, our own shop, our own budget, our own projects, and we're all doing the same thing, just different ways. Wow, this this live really got deep, I think. Robert says there's still a lot of handwork to be done once it's cut out. Really, how much real build by hand is there? Yeah, we still use a lot of power tools in building not only guitars and other items. Absolutely. The last time you made a shelf for your home, did you cut the whole board down by hand? Maybe, maybe not. But you still got a cool shelf for your house. Dane says, if you don't learn something daily, you're doing something wrong. I believe that fully. I try to learn. I embrace learning new things, trying new things. Spike says, odd thing, they pressed frets in all at once. Fretboard, not a neck. Oh, just one. Just the fretboard, then pluck. They pluck just the fretboard? Huh. Spike, hey Robert. Robert says, very true to Brian. Robert, hi Spike. Brian says, CNCs are time-saving tools that can lower the price for a customer or give you more time to do other projects or activities. Yep. I totally agree. That's the way I see a CNC machine, a regular CNC, right? Granted, again, I don't have the space at the moment, but I could see having one in another part of the shop, or maybe a back room or an upstairs or something. Have it in another area. I could go in there, load up some guitar parts, start the work, come back out and work on some other project videos while there's a guitar working in the background. For me, I could totally see how it would fit in because I would like to build more guitars. It's kind of a personal goal of mine. I want to do more. But if I do more guitars, then that right now, that is going to be, that's going to be the video stuff. And after a while, we're going to get flooded with guitar videos, which I don't have a problem with, but there's also a lot of other things that I want to do. And if I'm trying to do more guitars, there's a balance that I have to come up with. And I'm speaking for me personally, with, making videos and stuff like that. I would like to be able to just have the CNC running while I'm working on something completely different. And then, then I can work on assembling that guitar and get it out there on the Haley Guitars website and hopefully be able to produce and turn more guitars around. That's exactly how I see a CNC being used. It's producing stuff while I'm working on other things. John says, I use a CNC for my guitar build, and I spent 2 weeks making the neck file and made 4 out of 2x4 to do some test runs before I got it right. Yeah, there's a ton of time that has to be spent on the back end that a lot of people, I think, don't maybe account for. Sam Packin's here. He says, I'm here. Better late than not at all. Right on, man. Welcome. Welcome. Spike says, go watch the Gibson Custom Shop used one. I will go check that out. Dude! The dude's here. Hello from Colorado Springs. Do you have any good guitar wood stores in the area to recommend? Well, first I want to say hello, welcome. I'm just a little bit east of you here. Fellow Coloradan, I don't know. Let's see, guitar wood stores in the area. Is that still there? Colorado Wood something. It was down by the dog track. There used to be. I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been there in a long time. There used to be a place down that way. Colorado Wood Specialties or something like that. There's also, you've got Woodcraft up there on Austin Bluffs, but I don't really buy too much wood there. I buy a lot of stuff there, but not necessarily wood. There's JW Hardwoods out in Peyton. They're out on Highway 24. I get a lot of stuff from them. That would be my first stop, but they're the closest to me. But definitely I would check them out. Just a couple thoughts. I'm sure there's some other ones. Of course, there's quite a few in Denver. But for me personally, my first stop would be JW Hardwoods in Peyton. And from there, if I couldn't find what I needed, I would probably look into that place down by the dog track on Nevada. And what is that? Is it Las Vegas, maybe? Stone Street? Somewhere around there. Watch and learn. Thomas is here. Thomas says, good morning, Jeff. What's up, buddy? Sam Packin said, what did I miss? Looked like a good guitar show. It is. That show was awesome. I can't wait to attend next year. If you guys haven't seen the video I posted this past weekend, kind of a different style, more of a vlog style video of the Colorado Guitar Show in the Luthier's Expo that was held up in Denver last Sunday. So awesome. And that was such a good time. Actually 2 weeks ago, I think it was. But yeah, that was great. That was great. Patty says, my dream is to one day have a project down in the basement cellar that's below the barn, and I'll finish that project just before the new roof goes in the barn itself. A bit like Gibbs' boat in NCIS. Yeah, you finish it and the roof going. Alfonso! Hello, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. Robert says a little different topic. Have any of you seen anything about the B&G Little Sister guitars? I have seen different videos on them and the demos. They sound amazing. I have not seen them. I'll try to keep that in mind and look that up. John says, do you think handmade is used to justify price, handmade versus CNC? I'm sure. There are probably some people that try to, that will do that to justify handmade. Because, think about it, right? If you're making anything by hand, I don't even know how to word that because, maybe. I think maybe some people probably do. Man, I'm trying to get caught here. Sorry, the thing scrolled. I think that it might come in. I know some people that build guitars, do the work on a CNC, and they actually are able to offer their instruments at a little bit lower price sometimes. Because it's done on the CNC, they can do it quicker. There's not so many man hours into it, and they can still get 100% repeatable results in way less time than if you're doing it by hand. So it's possible, handmade. Does that? I don't know. Kind of a whole nother discussion that maybe we should save for another day. Spike says no plect after installing on neck. Interesting. Doing them all at once. Interesting. The different in a naked fretboard. Huh. Dude says, if you ever want to try out a CNC, there's a nice 8x10 at Pikes Peak Makerspace and a full wood shop. Yes, I've never been to the Makerspace. I do follow them on Instagram. It seems as though they've been posting more lately, which I kind of like. Because there for a long time, there was like nothing. But that's pretty cool. I've thought about getting down there sometime. I think I know where it is. Do you go down there? Have you been there? Are you a member? Let me know your experience. Sam Packin says, I was at the Gibson factory in Memphis, never saw one CNC machine. Interesting. Spike says, just keep the fine dust caught on the CNC. That's what caught my shop on fire. Oh, yeah, I can see that. Watch and Learn says, how goes the build? I'm prototyping right now. I'm getting ready to make the rosette. I'm at the rosette stage. And working on some jigs. Trying some things out so that I can cut the rosette pieces. I'm going to make a radial rosette, a 12-segment radial. At least I think that's the plan. I may just go to a regular cutout of some like spalted maple or something. I don't know. We'll see how this test goes. But that's what I've been doing most of the week is just experimenting with things, testing stuff out. My kiddo's on spring break from school, so we've been hanging out together doing some cool stuff. So shop time's been a little light. And I got another guitar build I got to jump on next week, so it's probably be a couple weeks before I get to the next video on that. Robert says, I saw that show. They had some nice things. Borgonians, good morning, gents. Good morning. Spike says this was a Gibson custom shop tour. Dude says, I help teach woodshop and electronics classes there. There are classes for CNC that are very affordable to learn the basics. It's also 8x10, always. Just throwing it out there. Oh, right on. That's awesome. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to have to come down and check it out. That'd be pretty cool. I wonder if they'd let me do like a vlog-style video tour thingy of it for the channel. Sam Packin says, hey, what grain filler do you recommend? Can't get anything and need to order off the web. I've been using Crystalac, their kind of clear grain filler, which works really well. I've also had excellent success, Harry Dude from your neck of the woods, Timbermate, except the smell. It smells like Band-Aids. I don't even want to open it, but oh yeah, Band-Aids. This stuff works really well too. You take a little bit of it. It comes in a ton of different colors. You can add water and thin it. Like I'll scoop a little bit into a little dish or container of some sort, add some water so it's really thin, and you can basically, you can wipe it on with your fingers, but your finger will smell like a Band-Aid for a while. You could smear it on in, you know, any number of ways. A rag, and just swirl it around into the pores. This stuff works really good. I've done a couple guitars this way, and several with the Crystal-Lac water-based. Well, this is water-based too, but Crystal-Lac grain filler. Both of them, I think, worked really well. There's several other ones too. Those are just the two that I've used quite a bit. Oregonian says you have to factor in the cost of CNC unit to calculate ROI. True, true. There are some things in there. Spike says a full handmade builder want more for his work and justify it to himself anyway. Yeah, fair. Dude says my name is Henry. If you see any projects posted, right on. Robert also saying yes, very true. We got to factor that in. Spike says I'll drop you the link on the gram, on the IG. Right on. Thanks, Spike. Sam Packin says, do you need a lot? Wonder how much to buy. That Timbermate, you don't need a lot. Well, neither one you really need a lot. I have the small one. I forget the size. I don't have it out here because it's been cold. I have a small one from Crystal-Lac, and it lasts quite a while. You don't need a ton. You don't want to slather it on in either case and have a ton of extra. You basically want to get just enough on there to fill the grain, and then you maybe sand it, do another application. That's usually what I do, at least two. Don't just paste it on there like toothpaste, because you're going to be sanding for days to get it back down to wood. So a light application, and I like to swirl, rub a circular motion to kind of work it down into the pores. Then I'll lightly wipe the excess, let it dry. And sometimes you might even think that there's not you'll know that there's probably not enough on there. Then you go back and you can apply a second coat, let that dry, then sand it again, and check your progress. But several light coats, don't just heap it on, or trust me, you will be sanding for a long time. Tony's here. Tony says, any recommendations on laser engraver? Only going to be engraving smaller things. I would love a laser engraver myself. Smaller ones, I have a buddy who has one of those Ortur. I think it's O-R-T-U-R. I think that is it's not a CO2 laser. I believe it's a diode laser, which is probably the more inexpensive end of lasers, but it works really well from what I've never used it. But I know he's had good luck with it. So I've kind of been thinking about looking into one of those. I'd love to have a CO2 laser, but that steps up in price range considerably. But I think that would, if you have the means, depending on your budget, check out the Orturs, or if you want to jump up to a CO2 laser, I think that would be always a wise choice. Spike says I use sheetrock mud for grain filler, water-based paint if I want dark. Interesting. Robert says StewMac has some different colored powdered grain fillers as well. Oh yeah. Robert says they just mix with water. Wayne's here. Wayne says happy Wednesday. Watch and learn. Do you think you have everything you need, or should I send some more? I have a lot of free time soon. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure on the sides. I think that the Padauk sides have developed a small crack. I don't know, temperature, pressure, something. I did take those to Zimbelman guitars yesterday, and we tried to figure out if we can make them work. And it seems as though that it might be best off starting with a new piece. So I don't know, I might need a new piece of Padauk. But we can talk offline if you want. These ones I can use as purfling, binding, that sort of thing, or possibly or some other stuff. We can talk about it. That's the only thing that I'm aware of at the moment that might be an issue. Senpakin, do you ever use a wood filler first, then a grain filler? I have never put wood filler, like for filling nail holes or anything like that, on a guitar. None of mine have ever had it. I always, if there is a void of some sort that I need to fill, I will fill it with epoxy or CA glue. I've never just packed in wood filler. I don't feel that that's solid enough. It might work just fine depending on the finish going over it, but I'm not painting, over stuff. And for my instruments, most of the time it's a clear coat of some sort. So I'm going to use an epoxy or a CA, and then I would go to grain filler if I needed to fill a void. Watch and Learn says, let me know, okay? Bam, I will. I'll message you when we're done here. Which, speaking of that, it is about time to wrap this up. So guys, go ahead. Got any last minute questions, comments, suggestions? Get them in right now. If you've enjoyed this live stream, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Let's see if that that little thumb guy. I don't know where he is on your screen, but he's right there. Let's see him go up. Hit that button. And also, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to have you guys along for the ride as I build stuff, learn new things. If you like to watch somebody learn new stuff, that's me. Right on, guys. There he goes. Look at that. There, he's shooting up. Nice. Right on. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Watch and Learn says, I still love using super glue for grain filler. Nothing better. Super glue, yeah, it's messy. It's messy. Sempackin says, thanks, Jeff. Harry Dude says, cheers all. Stay well. Right on, guys. Dane says, thanks for what you do and the transparency in your work. Well, thank you, Dane. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try to be pretty transparent with you guys. I think you guys have seen a lot of it. The mistakes, the ups, the downs, when things don't go right, because I know it's things that if I'm experiencing it, I know you guys experience the same sort of thing as well. So I try not to edit everything perfectly to, cut out all of the other things that sometimes you don't see in other videos. Brian says, thanks, Jeff. Everyone, great conversation. See you next time. Take care. Stay safe. Send pack and have a great day. I'd like to know how to do the super glue. You would just wipe it on. Get, thin super glue, and you just basically flood the whole thing with super glue. Wear rubber gloves and a respirator, or do it outside. It is literally what it sounds like. You're using the super glue as a sealer, grain filler, all of that. Yeah. Robert says, stay safe and healthy. Have a good one. Right on, guys. Thanks a lot for taking a little bit of time out of your morning, afternoon, evening to tune in here to Home Built Workshop. Live every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Next week, we'll be over on Facebook. Be on the lookout this weekend, too. The demo video for the bass guitar is coming out this weekend. It'll be out Friday on Haley Guitars YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to that, too. And Saturday will be the overview of the whole instrument here on this channel. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks a lot. Stay safe. Stay well. Spike says try to come by Sunday. I will do my best, my friend. We will see. I'm going to be at horse shows this weekend, but we'll see what Sunday brings. Right on, guys. John, you won't learn if you don't try. Yes, absolutely. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Till next time, thanks a lot for watching. I just said that. Oh, boy. Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Hit the button. Try again. I can't hit the button. There we go. Bye, guys.